from the studios of Staten Island Community Television. You're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Jaime Hixson, joined by a very good friend of mine over the phone.
My name is Hector Bosa, the hardest, baddest, and still the sexiest man on cable X TV. Still wooing the ladies and them paying me. But I have to say, Jamie, I have one question for you. How many months or years has Michael Jordan been the GM of his basketball team?
You mean the Charlotte Hornets? He's more than the GM. He's the actual owner. He's the boss of the whole thing.
Now, let me ask.
And he's been owner, I think, about 5 years or so.
Well, let me ask you this, because he was GM at one point for some team.
Yeah, he worked for the Wizards.
And he was horrible.
Oh, brother. Let's just say that not even no one else would make such an egregious error in picking Kwame Brown. Let's put it that way.
And this is a man that is a great basketball player. Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be a great mind. And somehow or another, he cannot transfer that great mind into spotting great players, even though he can play with great players.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why do you think that is?
That's a great question. I mean, if I had an answer, I could tell you, but there are just some guys who don't really have that eye for looking at a different generation of talent. I mean, they could look at their own generation, but I just don't see Michael as a guy who can take the grasp of this generation of basketball player and look at him as someone that could really be an impact player on the next level. I mean, I already mentioned Kwame Brown, and ever since he became the boss of the Hornets, his draft selection has been very, very up and down. I mean, probably the best player that he's ever been able to pick ever since he got to the Hornets or purchased the Hornets maybe has been Kemba Walker. And Kemba Walker has been a multi-time All-Star.
Yeah, but his contract's ending next year, and he'll be free agent. So,
and he's made it loud and clear that he wants to return to the Hornets.
That is, unless he wants to be the big dog in a little pond, and the fact that, what are the chances of them making it to the playoffs, or even just making it for the championship and winning one?
No chance whatsoever they're winning a title in the near future.
So why would you want to play for a team that has no chance of a championship unless it's either money or he's got enough money and he just wants to play for a team that he doesn't want to uproot his family if he has one, and he's just comfortable in that team, because there's a lot of players out there that get very comfortable.
I think it's the fact that he has a lot of ties with the community in Charlotte, plus the fact that he's been able to really find a comfort zone in Charlotte as well. Those are two of the reasons why Walker would want to settle down and make Charlotte his home for the rest of his career. I mean, he's had almost 8 years in Charlotte. I would think that a kid like him would probably want to go to a contender, because let's face facts, the Hornets are not built to win a championship now or within the next 10 years, forget 5 years, because you look at the roster and the way that it's built now, the players that they have are good. It's just not championship material. And right now, the best they could do is probably 7th or 8th place in the East, which means they would get bounced out in a heartbeat by either Toronto or Philadelphia or Milwaukee. And I guess we lost Hector for a little bit. Yep, unfortunately, we lost Hector. So we're going to see if we could get him back in just a couple of seconds. But it's a good thing that Hector touched on Michael as an owner, because ever since he became an owner, he has just had one head-scratching maneuver as a boss after another. Like we said, Kemba Walker has probably been the guy that that Jordan has had on his roster ever since he became an owner. But other than that, it's not like there's been any shortage of really, really good players. I mean, he made the Nicholas Batum trade, which is a very good trade. He's given them defense, he's given them three-point shooting, and he's given them fast break opportunities. There's also been Marvin Williams, who's been a decent veteran, who's been able to give them a couple of contributions. But then there have been some of his draft selections. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Malik Monk, who's a good player, but just seems to be a fish out of water playing on the Hornets right now. But just one time, I want to see Michael be able to make that really good, solid decision and try and get that one impact player. Another part of it is draft positioning. I mean, they have not been able to get that high draft choice. In fact, I don't even remember them getting a number 1 pick overall ever since Jordan became the owner. So I think it's just a matter of time before Jordan can really find himself a really good, game-changing player that he could say is going to help them win a championship. As far as what's going on elsewhere in basketball, they just came off of the All-Star break. And to be honest with you, I would much rather see them go back to Eastern Conference versus Western Conference, as opposed to picking sides like they used to do on the playgrounds, or a little draft selection process like they did for this All-Star game. What I do like, though, is seeing the United States against the world for the Futures game. And that's what they did when one of the Americans was able to win the MVP award for that Futures game. And also, good to see Joe Harris of the Nets win the skills competition, or the three-point shootout, I should say. Good to see Joe Harris win the skills competition. The three-point shootout, when he beat Steph Curry of all people, and finished with 27 points in the championship round. As it turns out, it was Jason Tatum that won the skills competition. Now, as far as what's going on elsewhere in the NBA, in our neck of the woods, the Nets, let's give them a little bit of credit. Since we mentioned the Hornets earlier, the Nets actually had a double-digit lead and were able to withstand a really big charge from the Hornets and win at the buzzer, thanks to D'Angelo Russell, who once again has been their best player in the clutch. And I just got the signal from Kenny that we got Hector back on the line. You there, Hector?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. These females will not they want me, but they won't stop me. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, you said yourself that when it came to the Knicks, it's for you to win the championship, the playoffs, or the championship. Now,
yeah, it's to win 4 rounds in order to get that trophy.
What do you think of a person that doesn't want to win a championship?
I think he needs to get his priorities on straight. I mean, money is one thing. He's going to get his money, but if he's not interested in winning a championship, then there's something a little fishy about the priorities that he has when it comes to being with a particular team. I mean, don't get me wrong. Charlotte is a great basketball city. It's got long ties between the game and the city, and the state for that matter. But let's face facts. Charlotte is not the type of market to have an NBA team. It's not like what it was back in the early 90s when they had Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning, and also Muggsy Bogues.
Exactly, but Michael Jordan was not the owner.
And Michael Jordan was not the owner either. It was George Shinn.
Exactly. He was a player at that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And now remember, think of it this way too. Maybe he just doesn't care. He just wants to be secure, and he just wants to be satisfied, and just doesn't want to be bothered. Because, just because let's say he doesn't want to win a championship, which I'm sure he does. But
any athlete that does not want to win a championship in their particular sport has got to have their priorities checked.
But again, let's go. Now, again, you're right, but he wants to win it for that team.
I would like to think that Kemba Walker would want to win at least one title, even if it is in Charlotte.
True, and you hope that Michael Jordan can actually do something about that. But is it LeBron James' fault that the Lakers are very bad? Can he do something more?
If you read the reports lately, I think it might be half his fault and half the fault of the team. I think
he's trying to be general manager too and coach, and
he wants to be the coach, the general manager, the vice president of basketball operations, the ticket manager, the janitor. You name it, he wants to be it for the Lakers.
He wears many hats.
He definitely wears many hats. Part of the problem is him saying publicly that he really wanted Antonio Davis to join him on the Lakers. That's number one. And because of that, a lot of players, a lot of teammates felt really alienated by LeBron. That's why you saw players on the bench sitting away from LeBron during a recent game.
Now they got to kiss and make up. Now LeBron's got to buy him a car or something to kiss and make up with them.
What they need to do is win games.
Wait a minute. Is that too PC? Because we're in a political correct, and I think that's a bunch of nonsense half the time. Being politically correct is a bunch of nonsense half the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, because, certain things. Well, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But my point is that when you have to kiss the ring, it's a disgusting thing, because you're telling your team that we don't want you. You guys suck, and I'd rather have this guy because he knows that he's at my level. They brought him.
That's exactly what he just unwittingly said.
They brought him in to improve that team, to improve the young guys, so that the next year they have the salary cap to bring in superstars, not trade Antonio Davis. He's the type of superstar. Like I said before with the Knicks and every other team, if you have a superstar on your team, and that superstar wants to play for that team, your team, he'll go to your team. He'll go to your team, plain and simple. LeBron is the type of person that he will attract superstars. Now, he may not attract that many superstars as we think, because if he is the way he's reported at times, the way he's been reported, then maybe not too many people want to play for LeBron.
I'll tell you one thing, any player that's not a superstar, he definitely would not want to work with him. That's for sure.
Because I can tell you this much. I was reading on an article on Kristaps Porzingis, and he says that if the Knicks had Kevin Durant, he didn't want to play with them. Now I'm going, you're a fool. But then you have to remember, when Carmelo Anthony was there, he was the king of the New York Knicks. He was king.
Or so he thought.
When they got rid of him It was Porzingis' team. Porzingis is the next great player. That's his team, and that's what he wants. He wants to be the man. He wants to be the man, and just like if it's true what they're saying about Kevin Durant, that he wants to be the man on his own team, which he was, because where he came from, he was the man. Besides one of the best guards that he had. But he was one of the men. He was the man on that team. So, that being said, you have Porzingis saying, I don't want to play with him. I wanted to be my team. Now he goes to a team where he's got Luka Doncic, however you pronounce his name.
You mean Luka Doncic?
Yes. And he's an up-and-coming star, but is it Porzingis' team now? How could it be
Not
Porzingis'
even
team?
close, no.
For
as long as he's still there, that is Dirk Nowitzki's team, and it will be Dirk Nowitzki's team. And he doesn't
Dirk
even...
Nowitzki may come back next year just to play with Porzingis.
He still wants to play.
Exactly.
He hasn't said it in that many words, but he does want to play.
You're damn right, and he's going to play with Porzingis. So he's going to have to eat his words and wait until he retires or something, and he doesn't get hurt, because that's been his problem. It's not that he's a good player. He can be a great player. It's just that he gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, that being said,
speaking of guys who can be hurt, Anthony Davis has had a bit of a medical history in his career, so LeBron needs to be careful what he wishes for, because he just might get it. Don't get me wrong, Anthony Davis is an elite player, but can he really count on a young guy who misses about 15 to 20 games a year because of injuries? He needs them for 82 games.
Would you give up half the team?
No.
Would you give up, like I tell you with the Knicks, those 5 guys, 5 or 6 guys plus a draft choice? With the Lakers, they would have to give up at least 5 or 6 guys plus a draft pick. And Lonzo Ball is included in that draft. If you so hire Lonzo Ball, and everybody else on that team that you were expecting to be an up-and-coming young team like the New York Knicks and like the Brooklyn Nets, like everyone else, up-and-coming teams that are starting from scratch, then what you're doing is an atrocity. What do you think?
Let me put it this way. No one player is untouchable, but at the same time, no one player should be worth another 5 or 6. I mean, that is just ludicrous.
The Lakers
would have to scour the free agent market just to try and fill the roster.
But the problem is, the thing is that when you do something of that nature, you have to remember, if you know how to budget, you have to know that you have a certain amount of money, and that's the problem. They have to match his salary. It goes by salary. So
I know how it goes.
So that being said, they would have to give up 5 or 6 guys plus a draft choice just to get one guy. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, that being said, where is the rest of this money that you have to go get the other players?
Unless they want to include a third team, make it a 3-way trade.
That could be possible, but that's, again, right now, it'll probably wait until the end of the year. But
yep.
It was kind of funny what Samuel L. Jackson did at the Oscars.
Oh, that was hysterical. I love how Samuel L. Jackson trolled Spike Lee and the Knicks. By the way, the Knicks snapped an 18-game home losing streak. 18 losses in a row at the Garden. That is just unheard of. And humiliating. And embarrassing.
Well, look at it like this. It could be embarrassing, and I'm looking at it like most people are, we may get the number one draft pick.
And that's not even a guarantee either, because now they've got the second worst record in the league behind Phoenix.
If we're the top 1, 2, 3, then we get the 1, 2, 3 team. Now, if we're in fourth place, then we go to 4, 5, 6, and 7. But right now, we get the first, second, or third pick, which is fine because we get the same amount of bouncing over the ball. It doesn't matter. But at least we'll get the first, the second, or third pick, which is fine by me. I don't care. Whatever the top 3 is, you're getting supposedly the top 3 best players in the league. Now,
if I'm a Knicks fan, of which there are very few in this city anymore, I want that first overall pick. I want to get Zion Williamson. The kid, it might be a potential franchise-changing player.
If you can't get him, who do you get? Barrett?
Maybe R.J. Barrett. And if you can't get R.J. Barrett either, maybe Jay Moran from Murray State, who's already grown to be an outstanding point guard for them.
And that's the thing. You should wish that at least they'll get one of those 3 picks. You want Zion Williams, but if you don't get him, you want the other 2. You want to be the top 3 pick. You don't want to be 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Speaking of Zion Williamson.
Zion Williamson, excuse me. You're right.
Speaking of Zion Williamson.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Speaking of Zion Williamson, he unfortunately hurt his knee in the Carolina game a week ago, so he's missed 2 straight games, including tonight.
It's funny because Scottie Pippen said he should just shut it down.
You can't tell a player to shut it down. The kid wants to play.
I understand that, but the thing is, and look at it from his standpoint. You are going to be the number 1 draft choice. Why do you want to risk hurting yourself? And then, let's say you hurt your knee, and it's unrepairable. You screwed yourself.
Well, fortunately, it's not a tear or anything. It's a sprain of one of the ligaments.
I understand that, but my point is, the reason why Scottie Pippen told him to shut it down is so that there's no way of him hurting himself, so that he knows he's going to get paid at the end of the day. Now, there are some people that say no, he should play because then his stock will rise. His stock has already risen. You can't rise any more than what his stock is.
There's still the matter of the NCAA tournament and also the ACC tournament. I want to see what he does in each of those tournaments. It's a foregone conclusion that Duke is making the big dance. I want to see what he does in the ACC and NCAA tournaments. Well, and if he leads Duke to a championship, then it's a no-brainer he's going to be the first overall pick.
And if he doesn't?
If he doesn't, for example, if he goes to the Elite 8 or maybe the Sweet 16, he's still going to be the number 1 pick.
No matter how you slice the dice, the man's going to be number 1 because they've been writing him up like no other. And speaking of a joke, the All-Star game. What a piece of joke. What a joke that game is. Those games are jokes because I wish they would take it more serious because I think fans would want to see them play like record basketball. I want to see you play for one time a real game, 5-on-5. You got 10 of the best guys on the court. Wouldn't you want to see them play a real game?
Yeah, I do.
Just to see, not to show. Oh well, let's score 150 points and let's score 160. Oh hey, hell, might as well score 200 points. Let's do that.
I was hoping for a 200-point game though.
And even the U.S. Versus the world, 134, 140 something.
Yeah, that's in the Futures Classic.
That was another ridiculous game. I mean, I'm glad Kevin Knox was in it. and he did fantastic. I think he's an up-and-coming basketball player.
Yep. Also,
And he's a
Jared
star in
Allen
his own
and
right.
Rodions Kurics from the Nets were representing Jared Allen represented the Nets for the Americans, and Rodions Kurics represented the Nets for the world.
And Harris shot the hell out of the three-point.
Yeah.
Curry came up close in his rear end. If it wasn't for that last ball, if he would have shot that any one ball in, he would have tied him or beat him.
He's always been a great three-point shooter.
Exactly.
It was just a matter of him showcasing his skills.
And the funny part about it is they asked his father, which one do you want? Do you want Stephen Curry or his brother to win? He said he wants his brother to win because Steph has already done it.
Yeah.
And his brother didn't shoot. Now, mind you, he does shoot as well as his brother, but for some reason, he's not the caliber of his brother.
Yeah.
But he plays the game well, because think of it this way. If you make people laugh at the last guy on the bench, but not for nothing, but it takes you a lot of work. You must be pretty good, at least, to be the last guy on that bench.
Yeah.
You can't laugh at that guy that's coming off the bench, the last guy. You can't laugh at him because he's still an NBA player.
He's an NBA player who's gone through a lot of paying of dues to get to where he's been.
Exactly. But I swear, Jamie, the NBA, it's like the NFL. The one that'll give you a real game is the baseball All-Star game.
Yeah.
The baseball All-Star game is a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go up there and say, okay, I want you to hit a home run off me. Just to please the fans, hit a home run off.
That's the
Go
only
ahead.
game,
Hit a home
the
run.
only All-Star game right now where there's some real pride going on. American League versus National League. For as many times as the sport of baseball has gotten criticized because of its old school ways, at least this is one old school way where the competition continues to be really, really heated.
And, it may be the slowest pace in the world. You may not even get enough runs in the world, but you're seeing the best players in both leagues play the game the way they're supposed to. Not, let me see the best dunk. Oh, okay, I'll give you this one. I'm not going to play defense. It's like playing a West Coast game. What's that? Mike D'Antoni. Don't play defense. We'll just outscore them.
Right.
And I think that's ridiculous. I think the NBA, Adam Silver, whoever the guy is, should go in there and say, guys, enough's enough. Play the game the way it's supposed to. Just one time. You'll do the All-Star game one time, and then we'll have one summer league where you pick your game and play the game the right way. And then we'll see what has the better ratings.
They have something similar to that right now, but it's mostly in the summer leagues, both here and also in Los Angeles.
But what I'm saying is they should take the same people that were in the All-Star game and have one game, a serious game, whether it's with rest or without rest. Just have one serious game and then compare the ratings. If the ratings go to, they want to see more dunks, then you play the game the way it is. Now, if the players if the ratings go by, let's have a serious game, then you play the serious game. They should try that at least one time. I doubt that'll happen.
Like I said, they already have something similar to that. It's called the Drew League. It's played in Los Angeles every summer. And these guys really take the game seriously.
Because that 3-on-3 game, a lot of people...
It's not even 3-on-3. It's 5-on-5. And they play in front of a packed house at a gym in Los Angeles, and they really go at it hard.
And they still don't... And the thing is, and I'm trying to figure out, and they still think that, they want to see us dunk and said, no, they really want to see you play the game the way you're supposed to. Because even in the 70s, they played defense. Even in the 80s. You mean to tell me, is that so old school that people go, oh, you're an old fart because you liked back then what was happening back then? Oh, because there was no 130 to 150 back then? No. If I had to go back, yes, I'd rather go back in time and see a real damn game. You want to see Magic Johnson versus Bird. That was always a great hookup.
Yeah, and it wasn't just Celtics-Lakers either.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, but those were the two that you always wanted to see. And then when Michael Jordan came, it was always Kobe and Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
But when let me ask you something. When did the NBA go wrong when it came to the All-Stars?
When did it go wrong?
Yeah, where did it go wrong that it became a joke when it came to the All-Star game?
When it came to the All-Star game, I would say 15 years ago.
Sad. So damn sad. Anyway, Manny Machado got finally what he wanted, a 10-year contract, $300 million.
Even though it's undeserved in my eyes, but the San Diego Padres became that sucker that decided to give in to his demands.
Now, again, we were talking about collusion.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have two of the best baseball players in the league. Everybody else is getting signed. But yet, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado were not signed. How is that possible?
How's that possible? Because they did not want to give in to the demands of a player who wanted 10 years and $300 million. The owners saw that these 10-year deals were burning the other teams in the past, so they decided not to go that far. But what happens now? San Diego, which has struggled mightily to be relevant for so long, finally decides they want to be relevant and at least a little bit competitive, and they decide to bring in Machado.
Did the Yankees really need him?
No, they didn't even offer him a deal.
No, I'm saying, does the team, the actual team, did they really need him on the team?
I mean,
Or
he could have been.
Was it a need or a want? That's what I'm trying to say.
He could have
Was
filled
it
a need,
or want?
but he could have filled a hole, but he would not have filled a need. No, the hole that they had was at shortstop because Gregorius is still recovering from surgery, and now they have Tulowitzki, who, by the way, did very well in his debut game with the Yankees.
Now he's playing third base with San Diego.
Mm-hmm. Machado is now going to be the everyday third baseman for the Padres.
Exactly, but again, so he was a want more than a need.
He would have filled a hole, but he was not going to fill a need for them, no. Besides,
Okay.
the Yankees are already set with what they have on their infield. They've got Luke Voit and Greg Bird battling out for first base. Then there's Gleyber Torres at second.
That one's funny. I don't know why they can't find a freaking first baseman.
I think they're going to go with Luke Voit to be the first baseman, especially after the August and September that he had for them last year. He hit the ball very well for them last year. Greg Bird has got a lot of catching up to do. If he does not break out this spring, his roster spot's in trouble.
Okay.
And then there's Torres at second, Tulowitzki at short, and Miguel Andujar, who was dynamic at the plate last year playing third. They just want Andujar to take as many reps at third base as possible because he was a disappointment for them defensively at third base. And Gleyber Torres, he was an adventure at second base as well. So they really want both of these guys to get as much reps in as possible and also get in as much practice time as possible at their respective spots just so they can improve.
The Yankees did improve because they're again, just like last year, they're comparing themselves to Boston, going, "Oh yeah, now we can beat Boston." Well, last year they were saying the writers, not the Yankees. The writers were saying, "Oh yeah, now we can beat Boston because we have hitting, and now we have." And what did the Yankees do? They didn't have a lick.
Nope. The Red Sox completely shut them down last year. Now this year, it looks like they're going to go with almost the exact same team at the 1 through 9, which is not terrible. I mean, it's a good hitting team. They've got a lot of power to bring to the plate.
Too many righties.
Too many right-handed hitters. And right now, the only left-handed hitters that I see for them are either Brett Gardner or Aaron Hicks, who also got a new contract from the Yankees.
He normally bats last, though. Gardner and Aaron Hicks is normally, they're trying to get him to bat first.
Mm-hmm. They're even trying to get
him a 7-year contract.
They're even trying to get Aaron Judge to be the leadoff hitter, which would be a very interesting thing.
Well, okay, give me the lineup with him at first, playing for batting first. What do you think the lineup would be?
Right now, I would say maybe Aaron Hicks, the leadoff man.
Okay.
The 7-year, $70 million man and playing center field. And I would think that Aaron Judge would be either hitting second or hitting third. So it would be Hicks, Judge, probably Giancarlo Stanton, probably Gary Sanchez, although I would probably flip-flop. Make Sanchez the third hitter and make Stanton the cleanup man. Maybe Luke Voit behind over at first base. And then Sanchez, and then, Gleyber Torres, Miguel Andujar, Troy Tulowitzki, and possibly, if they wanted to make him the everyday outfielder, maybe Clint Frazier. Because Clint Frazier, he's also trying to get himself a spot, preferably in center field. He wants to be the center fielder. So I would probably make Clint Frazier the number 9 guy.
I feel bad for Jacoby Ellsbury because he can't cut a break. He can't even cut a sneeze the way he's going.
He is a man lost on an island right now. It's gonna take a really hot spring for him to claim that center field spot right now. And from what I understand, his health is 50-50.
And but they're saying that because of the way the bullpen is, mind you, 6 is the Bathia retirement year, so they'll probably give him a rocking chair or something of that nature.
And from what I understand, I don't think he wants a farewell tour.
This is his farewell tour. This is it. This is his last year.
Yeah, this is his last year, but he's not going to do the whole farewell tour thing like Derek had 5 years ago.
But I'm sure they're going to do something for him. Well, whatever the case.
The Yankees will definitely do something for him. That's for sure.
Andy Pettit is their special advisor now.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really good idea.
Derek Jeter took Jorge Posada as a special advisor or working with him. And I'm surprised nobody picked up on Mario Rivera. Oh, no, he's doing Spanish broadcasting, too,
yep.
if I remember correctly.
And I think Mariano is also supposed to be doing some instructing every spring.
Well, that's good. And so the Yankees, the way because they're relying more on their pitching than their hitting.
Yeah, this is the year where they definitely want their pitching to try and guide them this year. I mean, not only do they have their usual suspects coming back, like Severino and Tanaka and Sabathia, they also re-signed Jay Happ, and they also brought in James Paxton, who pitched very well in his debut for the Yankees today against the Blue Jays. And, of course, there's the bullpen. The
Who's the
bullpen
middle
supposedly is going to be a real X factor for them.
Who's the middle reliever?
Well, after Chapman and also Dylan Betances, they're going to have Zach Britton, who they also re-signed, and a pick of the litter as far as who else they want to bring in to support that trio. It could be Chad Green. It could be Jonathan Loizaga, who so far has gotten off to a pretty decent start. It could be...
They didn't sign that other guy that wanted to be with the Yankees too. They got from Cleveland. They traded him from Cleveland.
Andrew Miller, he went to St. Louis.
Oh, that's a shame. But he must have wanted a lot of money too.
He would have been a good pickup for them because I think he would have made a great 1-2 combo with Chapman.
Yeah, but now. And the Mets are supposed to be situated really well too. They're supposed to be,
unfortunately, we heard that Jed Lowry got hurt, and they don't know if he's going to be ready for the start of the season. And that is a bad sign for the Mets. He was one of their big signings over the winter.
Who was it?
Jed Lowry. Looks like he was supposed to be there every day starting second baseman or third baseman. But now I think he might have hurt either his foot or his ankle. So he's back here in New York getting an MRI done, and they're saying he's going to miss some time.
Is it the Mets curse all over again? What is it about them?
I couldn't even begin to tell you. It was probably something that happened during drills.
Do you know how many great players, good and great players have gone to that team, and then they forget how to play baseball or they get hurt?
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
They must have a curse of some type of nail because they can't get it right. Only 1986 was the only time where they actually did it.
Don't forget 1969, too.
They did make the playoffs.
You forgot 1969.
No, I'm only going back for the young people that know only 86. Do you remember? They don't know about.
Yeah, but I want to give props to both teams. By the way, this year is the 50-year anniversary of the Mets' first title, so they're going to celebrate that team for the majority of the season.
You better hope they do.
Oh, they're definitely going to.
The Mets don't even have statues of some of the players from 1969, which they should.
They do have a mural in the Jackie Robinson Rotunda.
Yeah, but I'm talking about statues outside. Like, for instance, I think, do they have Seaver? I think they have Seaver.
You know, that's a good idea. Maybe they should have a Tom Seaver statue.
I mean, for God's sake, the guy was Tom Terrific. And still nothing. You want to honor some of these guys. I know you want to have plaques for them in the back like the Yankees do. That's great. But if you have one statue of, I forgot the guy's name, but they do have one or two statues out there at Shea.
Yeah.
It's a very nice ballpark, right away.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know why they didn't do the dome, but that's my pet peeve.
They just did not want to spend the money.
They should have, because they could have made it so much farther back. They could have had soccer teams playing there. They could have had so much. But anyway, like I said, to each his own, because New York is not the type. It's like the Minnesota Twins. How the hell can you live in a state where it's so damn cold and it snows and you don't want to have a dome? You're ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous. You'd rather play in. You're not a football team. You know.
Well,
in October it does get cold out there, but
when it comes to baseball, if you're an elite slugger, you want to go one of a handful of places: New York, L.A., Chicago, or Boston. Every place else is just like a last resort.
Well, depending upon what team they have, because the Chicago Cubs have a damn good team now.
They still have a very good team.
They're not a laughing team like they used to be.
Nope.
And there are some other teams that could actually give a good run.
Mm-hmm.
But it all depends what type of atmosphere do you want. Do you want the quiet or do you want the loud?
Depends on the athlete, because there are some guys that want their some guys want their privacy, but then there are others who really love the limelight and the nightlife, if you will, of the big city.
Exactly. And let me ask you, the Rangers, they actually gave up a big dude to get someone and actually get a draft pick.
Yeah, unfortunately, Matt Zuccarello is gone. And so is Kevin Hayes. Those are two big guys that the Rangers gave away to get some picks. So this just goes to show them, the Rangers are rebuilding, not only for the rest of this season, but for the future. And I think they're going to want to build through the draft. I would not be surprised if they maybe chased after a big-time free agent, but right now, the Rangers want to build with much younger players.
So they're going to try to get young.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And the Islanders?
The Islanders lead their division right now, the Metropolitan Division. And it seems like every big game that they wind up involved in, they're always coming up with a big game from a big player. Just recently, they did a 3-game road trip. They only went 1-1-1, but still, they were able to get the big points when they were supposed to. So now it's not even a matter of if they make the playoffs, it's when. Because now that they lead the division, they're going to try and lock down that Metropolitan Division and get that number 2 seed, which would be critical for them. And we just found... What's that?
Does that mean that we have Chico Rush and Dennis Potvin and Phil?
While you're at it, why don't you mention the names of John Tonelli and Butch Goring and Billy Smith and Bobby Nystrom? We could wax poetic about the big games that they played back in the day. Well, speaking of the Islanders, it's just been determined that once they make the playoffs, the Islanders are going to play their first-round games at the Nassau Coliseum.
That's good.
And then second round and on, they're going to be playing home games in Brooklyn.
It's a shame that they live in Brooklyn. But, again, that's...
The attendance was dreadful for Islander games in Brooklyn. Not only that, but no Islander fan was happy about making it to Brooklyn. The travel on the Long Island Railroad was just too much for them.
That's because you had the people from that side of the country coming over here, whereas instead of the New Yorkers and Brooklynites and people that live close to the 7 and that can get there quick, never held up for them.
There is some hope, though, because the Islanders already got approved for a brand new arena, which is going to be near Aqueduct. So they're going to be returning to Long Island in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's in God's land. That's for people that live over there. Not too many people from Brooklyn or New York will go to Nassau unless they're around that area.
I have had the pleasure of taking in a couple of Islander games in Brooklyn, though. The atmosphere was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I'm just saying that most of the people that are complaining are the ones that live on that part of the island.
In Nassau County.
Exactly. Those are the people that are going, no, we want our team back, which I don't blame them. But that is the New York Islanders. They're not the Nassau County Islanders. They're the New York Islanders. The only thing that I can't stand is when they call the New York Jets, even though they played in Jersey for
35
Jersey,
years.
and they actually wanted to try to change the name
To the New Jersey Jets.
And they actually they said that, okay, we'll put you out there, but you have to keep the name New York. If you don't keep the name New York, you're not going to have this team.
Yep.
Imagine if now imagine this. Imagine if Staten Island had the New York Jets.
Where would you have the stadium at, though?
The stadium would be either near the docks where nobody's. There's plenty of land. There's plenty of land on Staten Island.
You think so?
The problem is, it's people. Remember when they were going to put that?
You mean the racetrack?
The racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
People were complaining. Oh, it's going to be traffic, and there's going to be noise. They were only going to have 7 or 8 races there. Oh, but there's going to be this, and screw that. We just want to be a quiet community. They want to have fun, but they want quiet.
Yeah.
But imagine if that happened. The New York Jets playing on Staten Island.
It would be a good idea, though.
Because this was one of the places that they were looking at.
It would be a very interesting idea.
They were pitching Staten Island, too. Staten Island was pitching very hard. Whoever the borough president at the time was really pitching hard for it.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, there was some protesters and so on. But, who am I? I don't live in the Shishi area sometimes. But, you got the poor Devils.
Well, the Devils are under 500, but at least they're still showing some kind of fight in them going into these last 20 games this year. You look at their record, it's 24-30 with 8 overtime losses, or 24-38, if you will. I just see a major problem with frontline scoring and goaltending. Sorry, but how much more should Devils fans get their fill of Corey Schneider, who, by the way, just recently returned after a long hiatus and wound up winning a game on the road for them. But at the same time, I would think that maybe the Devils should look into maybe getting a young goalie in the draft, maybe getting a sniper or two, maybe getting some muscle at the forward spot. Maybe because after going from the playoffs last year to being basically 14 games under 500 this year, it's a real drop-off for them.
Speaking of drafts, the Jets and the Giants, they've released people.
Yeah.
They have let go. They have released people. They say they want certain players, They want to get under salary cap. What's going on with both teams, and who are they picking?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the Giants and the Jets, because the Giants have released a list of 15 free agents who are free to sign with anybody. For the record, free agency is going to start early in March, next month. I'm trying to see exactly who among the 15. Well, one of the guys that the Giants are turning loose as a free agent is Landon Collins, who is one of their best defensive players. He's their starting safety, who's been with them 4 years.
Oh, I got a quick question for you. Sorry to interrupt you. I got a quick question for you, and that is, now that Kaepernick won in court, but there was collusion with the man, because all he did was put a knee down and all that. Forget that. I'm not going to get into it because I think it's stupid. Right. But he won. he can't talk about. He can't talk about it. They made him shut up. They made him write down. He can't talk about it. This man is going to be rich for a very long time. They had to give him a boatload of money because the NFL wanted to show. They wanted to save face. The NFL wanted to save face, saying because right now, by him going to court, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were wrong. They're just saying we just want to settle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's going on with them. And I think, I wish he would have taken it to court. That way they can say, yes, we were wrong. Yes, we screwed up. Yes, it was racist. We were wrong for doing it. Yes. But they must have gave that kid a boatload of money. He can't talk about it. But do you think he'll have a job in the NFL?
He should have a job in the NFL, and he's still getting screwed over. You know, just recently, the Alliance of American Football showed some interest in him. Do you know he wanted $20 million to play in the AFL, the Alliance of American Football, the AAF?
Well, considering he's a better quarterback than most of those quarterbacks that they have, he deserves it. Most of the quarterbacks that's even in the NFL, he's better than. But because of the protest of the knee, they're not letting him in. So you know what? Let him get paid. He is one of the better quarterbacks out there. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at it.
He
so like
is better than 85 to 90% of the backup quarterbacks that are out there right now. And that's the honest to God's truth. What's that?
Joe Flacco.
It's really disappointing the way Joe Flacco's play has dropped off in the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, he's gone from being probably one of the 15 best quarterbacks in the game to being somebody who's just barely above average.
But I'm sorry, I shouldn't, because I just wanted to get that in because Kaepernick deserves to play in the NFL, and they don't let him because of the damn knee problem. And there's no damn knee problem. He was fighting for injustice, and that's it, plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the Jets and Giants with about 2 minutes left, how did they fix it?
How did the Giants and Jets fix things? Well, first and foremost, on the Giants, they need to get some playmakers defensively because that defense, the way it is right now, stinks. I think they specifically need help at safety. I think they need some down linemen. I even saw a rumor as far as the quarterback situation is concerned. How about Russell Wilson to the Giants?
Russell, as long as he backs up Eli Manning,
he'll never be a backup. He will only be the starter. And I'm seeing maybe Eli Manning could be one of many casualties among the Giants' major cuts that they make.
How old is Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson's only 28, 29 years old.
And what has he done?
He's won a Super Bowl. And played in another. He's won a Super Bowl. He played in another Super Bowl. He's still a dangerous weapon to have for any team that needs a quarterback.
What would you do?
I would make that trade in a heartbeat. And as far as what the Jets do, get offensive weapons and get some down linemen and guys in the secondary. That's all. And that's going to do it for us, folks. Hector, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Now I got to go back to these women. Sorry, Jamie. I got to go.
And thanks to Kenny on the other side of the glass. For everyone here, I'm Jamie. Good night.
I'm Hector. Bye.